everybody what's going on. Schizo Jits here. I'm with the Jake Paul Anderson Silva recap. I don't know who all watched the fight last night. It was actually a fucking really exciting fight. I was on the edge of my seat, and that's only because I'm such a huge Anderson Silva fan, since Pride days. I was shocked that I think this was kind of a win-win for both guys. I don't think anybody really lost here other than I don't think it tarnished Anderson Silva's legacy that much. Did show a little bit of age there, but it showed a lot of improvement from Jake Paul. Jake Paul, he's leveled up every single time as far as just boxing skill, though. And that was a totally unexpected game plan from Anderson Silva. I was thinking he's going to do the Anderson thing, just elusive, staying on the outside, making Jake miss and making him pay. But he kind of rushed him a little bit, which honestly, I got to question the strategy a little bit because Anderson's not a volume striker. He's a sniper. So, he was kind of coming in and putting on a lot of pressure on Jake, which was effective to a point, because Jake didn't seem to have the footwork or the angles, or he didn't really know how to get out of there a lot of times. He kind of got stuck on the ropes a lot. But, I don't know. I think he won a unanimous decision. Obviously, 8th round knockdown that kind of secured the deal for me. I had a 4-3 going into the 8th round myself. And I thought Anderson, there was a lot, the 3rd, 4th, and 6th rounds were close. And I thought Anderson was the aggressor on those, but Jake might have landed a big shot in there, so it kind of swayed the judges a bit. But I thought Anderson was putting on the pressure, and he was the aggressor, and he was throwing harder shots. Jake was kind of throwing a lot of jabs with, you could tell he was standing there almost like Dan Henderson, just with that right hand cocked, ready to go, and he did land a few. And Anderson ate him, and he kept coming. That 8th round, I don't think it was really Anderson was hurt. I think it was more that he was out of position with his footwork or his feet, and he was actually throwing a punch at the exact same time with right hand, and he just got caught, and he just kind of off balance. I don't think he was at rock. He took the 8 count. He kind of sat down, and he was just kind of I think he was a little more disappointed himself, but you could tell he was getting a little tired because he's not used to that style of fighting. Like I said, he's not a pressure fighter. He's not a volume guy. And he was, he looked great. He looked like there was vintage moments of just Anderson Silva being Anderson Silva, the Spider, going in there and fucking making Jake miss, making him look bad. And, he didn't throw enough, though. That was the thing. The first round, he kind of gave away. He didn't land the biggest punch of that round. I think he caught a nice left hand towards the end of the round on Jake. It popped his head back. But he wasn't throwing a whole lot. He was kind of tentative there. And in the 7th round, I think it was the same thing. He took a round off, and I think that's just father time catching up with him a little bit. And plus, because he's putting a lot more energy out there trying to close the deal, because I felt like maybe he thought he needed a knockdown or just to bring it to Jake. Because, this is the kid, how dare this fucking kid think he's going to come and beat the GOAT, the icon, the legend, so, it was an entertaining fight, though. I can't lie. It was really entertaining. The whole card, I don't know, it was kind of whatever. I didn't pay attention so much. I think Chris Avila, one of Nate Diaz's training partners or homies, he fought a YouTube doctor or something. I'm not sure, but that fight was whatever. I don't really pay attention too much, honestly. Uriah Hall, I thought he would look a little better against Le'Veon Bell. Went 4 rounds, went to decision. Le'Veon Bell actually showed a lot of toughness and landed some decent shots himself. But overall, the main event was the main fight. Stole the show. It was an exciting fight. Was it world class Canelo versus Mayweather type fucking skill? Of course not. But it was entertaining, and that's what we're here for. We want to see entertaining fights. We want to be on the edge of our seat. We want to see if Anderson could turn back the clock and put this kid out, or is Jake Paul, leveling up as he can be able to beat the Spider, And, I thought it was a little closer than what the judges thought, which kind of shows me that no matter what, Jake's winning this fight, because even the announcers were after, 3-4 rounds, they're what, I got Jake up 3-1 or 2-1. It's kind of I don't know about that, because there was some close rounds there, and I thought Anderson was doing a little bit more as far as pressuring him and throwing a lot heavier shots, really, because Jake was throwing mostly jabs. He threw over 200 jabs in that fight, but he did land some big shots. Anderson ate him, So it was, I think it was a win-win for both. Anderson didn't look horrible. He didn't look the best Anderson, but I think it was a strategy, mistake that he made. Honestly, I think he should have came like he does, and just be the sniper that he was. And I think he could have just landed some harder shots that Jake didn't see coming and hurt him that way. instead of trying to overwhelm him, which is not his style, which kind of leads me to believe that somebody who does put in a lot of volume and could back Jake up could maybe do a little better as far as that, because they might have the gas tank to do that for the whole duration. Like, I think Nate Diaz, I mean, obviously he was there. He was in attendance, causing all kinds of shit. His team, every time Nate Diaz is at a fight, I mean, the crowd's going nuts. He was by far, he was probably the biggest celebrity, most popular guy in the arena. I mean, there was times when he, like right before like his team and Jake's team got into it. I don't know, you guys probably saw that, but they got into it backstage, a hallway type thing, and he got thrown out right after. But I seen some, if you guys follow ES News, Ali Sexback, he was following Jake around and recording like he does many fighters, a lot of boxers mostly, but he has been going more with MMA now lately. And he's always in following Diaz around, and he was showing like just where everyone was just like surrounding Diaz, and like he was still in the show in the crowd. The crowd was fucking all over Nate Diaz there, and like just he had a lot of pop there, a lot of buzz, and then we had security pushing these guys out into that hallway moments before all that scuffle happened between the teams, where Nate Diaz actually slapped. It was a breathing coach that one of Jake Paul's breathing coaches. He smacked him. He stalked and slapped him real quick, and that was right before that. They had just kind of pushed him into that hallway. They're trying to get him to leave. And I think that's kind of what started it. All of a sudden, you're trying to push this guy out and his whole big team. And then you're going to run into, you see Paul's guys. So, naturally, especially you got some guys, maybe Nate Diaz is not the one starting the shit, but he's not going to back down either. So it's guys, you always got these guys, or you're rolling with them. Chris Avila, he's kind of, he fought on the card. And he was there. I mean, a lot of those guys were there. And they have that whole same Team Diaz persona, where they're starting shit and throwing beers and just talking shit, That's just how it is. And when you got a big group like that of just like kind of thuggish type dudes, like there's going to be some problems, So I think that's kind of what happened a little bit. But I mean, Nate Diaz, obviously I think he's probably next. I don't know. It seems like that's the most fucking logical choice. There's other guys out there maybe that Jake could be interested in. Vitor, I think he's right there. I think he could definitely give Jake problems for a good 2 rounds, 3, because he has that fucking tenacity where he comes out ferocity, I should say, comes out guns blazing in the first round or 2. But I don't know if he can sustain that for 8 rounds. If he doesn't get to finish, he might fade a little. And he don't have the same name pop as Anderson Silva. Obviously, GSP was in the building. He was commentating. He was part of the production. He was part of that team, the commentating team. So he was there. He's saying he's not interested, but I would like to see that fight too. Either, I'm not saying GSP and Jake Paul, even the GSP and Nate Diaz would be dope, or GSP and Anderson Silva. We never got in MMA like we wanted, or in UFC. So maybe we can get in the boxing arena. That would be interesting. So I don't know what you guys think. Who's next for Jake Paul? Who's next for Anderson? He said he still wants to do it. He's going to do a jiu-jitsu tournament coming up. So he's got that first. But I know he said he's not done, So, and he'd look good, in spurts. Like I said, I feel like it was a bad game plan. Like, why are you going to put so much energy out there when that's not really your style? He took the first round off. Maybe that was on purpose to conserve some energy. But I feel like he could have had a different strategy than that. I think he felt like he would maybe overwhelm Jake. And Jake did look a little confused with his footwork. Like, he didn't really know how to get off the ropes so well. But, he's only been boxing 3 years. You got guys on Twitter saying, oh, he would have lasted 90 seconds with Canelo and all that. But I don't know anybody who would land after, would last 90 seconds with Canelo after only training for 3 years anyway. But I think he would last a few rounds with Canelo. Canelo's a slow starter. He's not coming out there and just smashing out people like Mike Tyson back in the day and just, starching guys in the first round. That's not really his style. So, and he's a lot smaller than Jake. Well, not a lot, but he's smaller, he's shorter. He's a lighter weight. He moved up weight recently, and he didn't have that same, energy that he normally has. So, he lost that fight. He lost. So, obviously Jake Paul's not ready for Canelo, for sure. No one is after 3 fucking years, but he's one of the best fighters, if not the best in the world right now. So that doesn't make sense, but I would watch it for sure. Who wouldn't? That's fucking Jake Paul. That's Canelo. Any Canelo, even if he fights a no-name guy, he's going to make, he's got all Mexico behind him. You know what I mean? So, yeah, Jake showed a lot of improvements there, though. He was more than a right hand. You know, he was throwing a lot of jabs, a lot of good work to the body, which I thought Anderson, it kind of had a little effect on Anderson's movement. He wasn't moving as much as he normally does. He started out like showboating a little bit, doing the typical spider antics and trying to get in Jake's head, make a mistake. And, you know, Jake stayed pretty composed. I mean, of course, he was on the ropes on the back foot a lot, but he was busier. He threw more punches, landed more. So, which is, like I said, uncharacteristic of the spider. Usually he was more accurate, but usually he's way more accurate and he don't waste a lot of punches. He was throwing and missing, swinging and missing a lot, overextending, you know, leaving himself open a lot. I don't think it's just age on that. I think it was just a strategy thing, you know, like maybe that was his thing where I'm going to get in this guy's face and keep the pressure on him. And I just think it was a bad strategy overall, but you got 8 rounds. I mean, it's a lot harder in boxing. Those rounds fly by too. I mean, unless you're hurt. When you're hurt in boxing, 2 minutes seems like a lifetime, like of trying to survive, you know, because you're going to get hit. You know, it's not like the octagon where you could just hold them up against a cage for a minute. You know, it's you got to stand and fight and avoid some shit. So, but overall, I mean, it was a very entertaining fight, I thought, for what it is. Like I said, you know, Lomachenko fought last night. That's one of the best in the world right now too. You know, like, you know, that's just he's a fucking amazing fighter, you know, and he put on a great fight. You know, that was a good fight. You know, him and that kid he fought, that was a good fight. You know, homie the guy was game. You know, and Lomachenko looked great, but obviously it's not that. You know, this is just a different level of fighting. But Lomachenko wasn't at that level after 3 years training either. You know, like nobody is. So it's kind of what we expected. You know, it was a good, entertaining fight. Like I said, there was a lot of celebrities there, a lot of buzz. Everybody watching. I don't know though. I think Nate Diaz and Jake, that has to be the fucking fight to make. I don't know what you guys think, but Nate Diaz, I think he could present a lot of problems. I mean, he's sparred with Andre Ward, a couple other professional fighters, and he's always held his own. They have nothing but high regard for him, a lot of respect, and give him nothing but praise because of his cardio, because he keeps coming, because he could take a shot, because he's one of the most durable guys. Yeah, he's a lot slower, not as explosive as like Jake or Anderson, but the volume is there. You know, if he had Jake on those ropes like that, he's not going to get tired just landing some shots on him. You know, just the workman aspect of it, he's going to be able to just keep that pace going. You know, look what he did with Connor and their fight in the last 2 rounds, you know what I mean? Or last round especially. So, I mean, I don't know. I think that has to be the fight to make. Nate's a fucking huge celebrity, you know, like, so I don't know. I mean, I wouldn't even know who to pick on that fight. You know, like they already said, I think Jake would be like a negative or like 300, 360 or something favorite for that fight. So I don't really agree with that. I think it'd be more of a pick 'em. I think I would have to lead towards Nate and not Jake. He's been boxing for a long time. I don't know. It's hard to say because Jake's definitely more explosive. He's younger. He's got a good chin too. Because Anderson did land some bombs on him too. You know, he landed some nice shots on him, and he ate him. You know, so. And he showed some toughness, man. The kid's getting better. He showed a lot of toughness and definitely some improvement. Just technically, everything. You know, I don't think he expected Anderson to come out like that either, because there's tons of footage on Anderson. There's decades. He's not really that type of fighter to come get in your face and just kind of pressure you. So I think he kind of maybe tired himself out a little bit with that style, thinking he would be able to get Jake out of there. You know, and a lot of people are saying, "Oh, it was fixed" and all that. I see one angle. Jesse on Fire was saying. Showed a clip, and he wasn't buying into it, but like where it looked like the punch missed from a certain angle, you know, and Anderson went down, but from another angle, you could see the punch land and you could actually hear it, you know, so it definitely landed. I don't think he was that rocked. I think it was just more out of a position with his footwork and kind of just sat down real quick, took the 8 count, and probably more disappointed himself, like, damn, this kid dropped me, you know. He had a little, you know, blemish on he got his nose busted. Anderson did. And he also got a little thing here from a headbutt, actually, though, on his cheek. You know, I seen that happen. It was a straight-up headbutt. He looked at the ref like, hey, you know, this fool just hit me in the head. But what an account. 47 years old, still a fucking icon, still a legend, still had the same movement, you know, still had moments, you know. But at the end of the day, I mean, you know, you're not boxing every day like Jake, you know, 3 years in, has a great team behind him, youth, you know, probably a little faster, all that. He had a lot of, you know, Jake definitely still had a lot of advantages, but I think you still got to put some respect on his name because his hard work is showing, you know, his improvement is showing. So I mean, you still got to put some respect on that. And a lot of people didn't think he would take this fight, especially after Anderson Silva, you know, technically he beat Chavez Jr. and then starched Tito. So it's kind of like he had looked good. You can't say like this is the best in the peak Anderson. Of course not. You know, this wouldn't have went the distance like that. You know, Anderson would have scored him and just destroyed him. But you know, at this stage of the career, I mean, it was a nice step up for him. It was in competition, and I don't know. I'm excited to see what's next. I think it's going to be Nate, though. It has to be. If you go to Rockman, I don't think I've seen Rockman Jr. I don't think he can make that weight. I mean, even though Anderson cut from 220, Rockman looks huge. You know, he's got a lot of muscle. He's tall. You know, I just think it's too much of a weight difference for him to lose to where Jake wants to get him. Because even Anderson, he was walking around at 215, 220, had to get down to 187, which, you know, not easy at this stage of your life or career, you know, being 47 years old, trying to drop 30 pounds to make a fight weight. I mean, so he could have been a little drained too. Maybe that's why he got a little tired, but he was able to take a lot of shots. And I mean, it was impressive. I don't think Anderson loses too much because he didn't get dropped. He didn't get knocked out, thankfully. That was the thing. I was just like, fuck, please don't get knocked out. Like, you know, I was like, that was the worst nightmare. A lot of MMA fans, obviously, nobody wanted to see that. So luckily it didn't happen. I think it was the best case scenario. Like, it went decision. Both guys looked good, you know, like decent. Like I said, it's not world-class boxing, but it is what it is, you know. It's entertainment, you know, and it was an entertaining fight. I mean, you could put on world-class boxing and be bored and no one does shit, you know. How many, like, decisions were like 12-0 Mayweather? That's world class as it gets. And a lot of people were complaining because, like, damn, he only threw like 10 punches around and won every round because he didn't get hit, or just, you know, that type of fight, you know. And at least it was action, you know, it was action packed, and it was nostalgic, and it was really nice to see Anderson, you know, like, still move like Anderson and do his thing, you know. It would have been nice to see him get the victory, but it is what it is, you know. Like I was kind of rooting for, of course I was rooting for Anderson, but I mean, I was rooting for them both guys to look good. You know what I mean? I'm not a hater like that. I'm not gonna be like, well, fuck this kid, let's fuck him up. Like, I feel like, you know, I want to see these guys do good, you know, and I think Jake's bringing more eyes to the sport. I'm not sure if it's like his fans are watching all the boxing or just this style of boxing, like entertainment YouTube stuff, but either way, I mean, you know, if people are starting to train more and do stuff like that, you know, a lot of celebrities talking about fighting and stuff like that now and into it, then that's all good, man. Like, we need to turn the society. Instead of being a lazy ass society, we should be all a society of Spartans. Everyone who knows how to fight and does all that, because then maybe we won't see all these sucker punches and crap that we see on Twitter where people are just trying to just snuff people out, you know, or whatever. When they have a mutual respect, when you train, you don't doing that. You don't see guys who train all the time on the street just sucker punching people, other than like Jorge Masvidal, you know. But so I mean, I don't know. Then you got Connor tweeting, of course, putting nothing but hate, trying to steal some shine, and talking about an early 2023 return, which he's not even in the USADA pool yet, so that doesn't even make sense. So we won't see him till mid 2023 at the earliest, really. But overall, it was very entertaining. You know, it was. There was a UFC fight too, but I'll just do that another one. But Calvin Kattar, you know, one of the he just had some bad luck. Him and Arnold Allen. But yeah, I just not a whole lot to say about the Uriah Hall fight. Like I said, I mean, I don't think he looked that great. I thought he was gonna pretty much finish Bell, but he only got 4 rounds. A little different. Bell showed a lot of toughness, and he's been working hard, and he's an elite athlete, you know, coming from football, whole life of that, transitioning to fighting. If you got that toughness, which you can't really teach, you know, like being willing to get punched and keep coming, that's pretty good, you know. So he still looks great shape and young. So I mean, he put up a good fight against Uriah. I don't even know. Like I said, I wasn't paying the most attention to that fight, so I can't say, like, they gave all 4 rounds to Uriah, the judges. He didn't look like too badly hurt. I did see him catch a fucking nice shot, though, where he did get his head knocked back. But, I mean, I don't know who won what rounds, whatever. I wasn't paying attention that closely on that fight, honestly, because I had a lot of other shit going on. There's a lot of fights on last night, actually, mostly boxing. You know, there was UFC early. You know, there was some good fights there, too. But, like I said, I'll keep this just to the Jake Paul reaction. It was, like I said, he looked good. You know, you could tell he made a lot of improvements there. You know, he showed composure. He obviously had some power still in the 8th round. after a tough fucking kind of war type fight where Anderson was in his face, so he had to fight him off. I mean, we'll see what happens, in the future. I mean, like I said, I want to see Vitor back in the mix. He hasn't fought since Holyfield. They haven't really been talking about it too much. TRT Vitor, I mean, that's a scary individual. You know what I mean? So even at a later age, I mean, he overwhelmed Holyfield when they fought. So he might be able to do that for a round or two against Jacob. He might even be able to land something big and drop him. I don't know. Because Vitor has always been known to have fast hands and strong and power in both hands. So, I mean, that's a possibility. But I feel like if he doesn't get him out of there in a round or two, it could be Jake, putting just outworking him and just having the cardio to keep going the whole 8 rounds and have power at the end and maybe put him out, or just decision him again. But like he did Anderson. But like I said, I thought it was a lot closer than what the judges had. I think it had 78, 73, 77, 74. I could see that maybe because they were close rounds. 3, 4, and 6 were close. They could have went either way, but I still thought Anderson was taking those rounds. But it was close. So it wasn't like, it was totally, but you could kind of tell, man, no matter what, Jake Paul was going to win that decision. There's no way they're going to give a decision to Anderson, I don't think. And that just shows boxing, it is what it is. They're going to fucking rob people. They're going to, who has the more star value. GSP was in the building. So, I mean, we'd like to see that. I mean, I would like to see GSP, maybe GSP Nate Diaz even, he could try to avenge his brother, even though that wasn't the most exciting war either that we thought it was going to be with Nick and Anderson. But if we see that GSP, really GSP Nate Diaz or Nate Diaz and Jake Paul, I mean, it has to be Nate Diaz. Jake Paul and his interview after the fight, his post-fight interview, he's calling Nate Diaz a bitch. So instead you're starting shit, stop being a bitch. Stop fighting in the hallway. Let's fight for free. I mean, stop fighting for free in the hallway, and let's fight. Let's make some money. So I mean, I don't think anyone could call Nate Diaz a bitch, and he's just gonna be like, yeah, okay, so. Anderson Silva though, man, God, such a fucking living legend. Just so humble too. He's not really want a rematch. It's whatever. I gotta accept the fact and respect that I lost. It's normal. It's normal. I lost. It is what it is, man. I mean, I don't think we need to see it again, honestly. I mean, I would like to move on, and I think Nate Diaz, Jake Paul has to happen. What else is there? You call Nate Diaz a bitch, dude. You can let this punk get away with that? You can't do that. There's just no way. Not on this fucking earth. There is no way someone's going to get away with calling Nate Diaz a bitch. So I think Nate Diaz will be put your money where your mouth is. And I mean, that'll be an epic fight, man. A lot of people are saying Jake's way bigger than Nate. I don't think so, though, because Nate has to walk around 200 pounds. I mean, he's huge. He's tall. He's lanky. He's lanky, but he's still got a little bit of size on him. He's skinny fat guy, whatever you want to say, but he's got some heavy hands and he's got some cardio for days. And like I said, he's one of the most durable guys in the fight game, period. Take a lot of damage. So, I mean, that's the fight to make. There's no way around it. It's got to be Nate Diaz, Jake Paul next. And I wouldn't know how to call it, but of course I'm a root for Nate Diaz. But I wouldn't know how to call. I mean, because you never know. Jake's he's leveled up as far as skill and training and everything. Every single fight, he's gotten better. He's only going to get better. He's younger. He's hungry. He's, in love with the sport like that. Nate Diaz is just a warrior. Of course, he has the love for the game and all that, but he's already put into so much work. He's been around the game forever. What was he in, tough 4 or 5 or something, whatever. I mean, so, I mean, yeah, he's been around for a minute. They're on season 30 now or some shit. So, yeah, he's been around for a minute. And, so he's already put in that game. I'm not saying he's not hungry. He don't want to lose to Jake Paul. He ain't trying to lose nobody. So, we'll see. I mean, it's interesting. It's like I said, it's entertainment. It's not world class. It's not fucking Tyson, Holyfield. It's not shit like that, But it is what it is, and it was entertaining. And that's, end of the day, that's what we want to be. We want to be, are you not entertained? We want to be entertained. We don't want to be sitting there thinking, waiting for something to happen. I'm a huge Pacquiao fan, man. I fucking love Pacquiao. When him and Mayweather fought, no lie, I was falling asleep during that fight. It was 5 years too late, obviously, but I was falling asleep during that fight because it just wasn't what I knew. It wasn't going to be that way. It wasn't going to be like what I thought it was 5 years before that when Pacquiao was a little more when the fight should have happened. But I was boring. You know what I mean? It turned into a boring ass fight, and that's what it is. This was at least entertaining. You know, like I said, a lot of boxing fights, normal with the professionals, the actual elite boxers, they don't put on the most exciting fights all the time. You know, so sometimes they do, sometimes they don't. You know, this was exciting. You know, Jake Paul, like even some of his other fights with him and Willie, they were kind of a lot of moments of kind of like, what the fuck, what am I watching? You know, it wasn't the most entertaining. You know, other than a knockout in the sixth round, it was pretty like kind of whatever. You know, it wasn't a lot of action. This fight was pretty nonstop action, and that was because Anderson was bringing it the way he was. But I would have liked to see a different strategy from Anderson, honestly, because like I said, man, that's not the Spider that we all seen fight like for all these years, like decades. You know, usually he's just an elusive guy with great movement and footwork and head. He still had the head movement. He still had that. You know, he still was a Spider, making a miss and looking good. So I don't think he loses too much. You know, he's 47. You know, I think a lot of people were expecting him to win. You know, but I don't think it tarnished his legacy. Maybe if he had got knocked out like the way Woodley did, that would have definitely tarnished his legacy in my eyes. Even I would have been like, "Fuck, man," to get knocked out that way. But he didn't, you know. So he hung in there. He was right there till the end, and it was a good fight. I mean, I'll leave it at that. I don't know. Tell me what you guys think of the fight and what's next for Jake Paul, Nate Diaz, even Anderson Silva. I think, like I said, he's going to do a jiu-jitsu tournament, so we'll see what's next. Maybe him and Vitor could have another match in boxing. You know, that would be interesting. Which I don't know right now. I might have to favor Vitor. I mean, just because his hand speed but like I said, 2 rounds. You know, after that he might fade a bit because he does come balls to the wall, explosive. You know, just goes there for the kill immediately. You know, and he's always been that way. So he's He's still one of the most dangerous fighters ever in the first round. I mean, for sure. In the history of fucking combat sports, you know, he's like a Mike Tyson of the UFC. You know, when he just like when he lit up Vanderlei Silva just across the ring with like a 40 punch combo, just you know, I mean, that was crazy. That was a long time ago. I get it, but you know, but still, he still has some hand speed and he's TRT'd up. Shit, we all seen how scary TRT Vitor was in UFC. You know, at Michael Bisping. I mean, he knocked out a lot of people on the head stuff. So, and these guys are gonna be juiced to the gills, which I'm sure Anderson was. So was Jake. So was Logan. So was half the crowd probably. Who knows? But very interesting times we're living in. That it's like I said. Are you not entertained? That's what it comes down to. It's like gladiator times. Whatever sells is gonna be the show. Show must go on. And like I said, man, I'm interested. I watch these fights. I mean, I watch all fights, but it's just entertaining to me. I like it. I can't lie. Like I watched, like a lot of people I know too. They talk crap about it, all that. But you're watching, dude. Like, don't talk shit about it if you're gonna watch. Oh, this shit's trash. What the fuck? These guys fucking suck. Well, you watched the whole fight, so like, what the hell, dude? Why are you complaining? Don't watch it then. Don't. It's must-watch TV when these guys fight because they have a mouthpiece and they got a lot of eyes on that. And it looked like a huge crowd. I mean, it was in Glendale, Arizona. It looked sold out. So, I mean, it's, yeah, show must go on. Let's go. And see you at the next fight, next breakdowns. We got big UFC coming up soon, like a couple weeks, November 11th, 12th, the Izzy and Pereira rematch. And that card's been sick. That's insane. So I'll definitely have a couple videos on that one, but not now. So, yeah, I'll let it go. Yeah, like, subscribe, and see you guys next time.